I have a message here for President Joe Biden. And I think it's actually a very, very important message. So I consider myself a fair person. I try my best not to be like a lot of these other pundits out here or a lot of other political people who are what I call narrative humpers, where they have an idea in their mind. They have their own narrative that's set, and they won't deviate from it 1%. Even if new evidence comes up, even if new proof invalidates certain beliefs that they have. There's some people who got their story and they're sticking to it, no matter what the real world is showing or saying. I try my best not to be like that. I try my best to be as fair as humanly possible, even if me being fair and acknowledging reality might make some people in my own audience mad at me. Because you have to be committed to that as a matter of principle. You have to be committed to honesty as a matter of principle. Well, when it comes to Joe Biden, I've given him credit where I thought he's done good things. I've gone after him when I thought he's done bad things. And just to sort of walk you through it a little bit here, where has Joe Biden done good? Well, he cut $1,400 stimulus checks. Now, he said it was going to be $2,000. That was a lie. But they did cut $1,400 stimulus checks, and by the way, his approval rating shot up to 52% when he did that. Highest it's ever been. So it turns out, when you help people out, they like you. Credit where credit is due. He overrode the Supreme Court and allowed the EPA to regulate greenhouse gas emissions. This is right after the Supreme Court said it's unconstitutional for the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, to do environmental protection. He goes, disagree. They slipped a provision overruling that in the Inflation Reduction Act. That was brilliant. He did these things called project labor agreements, which effectively raises the pay of 200,000 construction workers. Credit on that. He did a $15 minimum wage for federal employees and federal contractors. That impacts about 400,000 people. Credit on that. He did gun reform, albeit mild, albeit weak, if you want to use that word. But we do have some red flag laws. We do have a waiting period for when young people in particular get guns. So all in all, definitely a step in the right direction. He did the George Floyd executive order, which creates a registry of abusive cops, tries to track and snuff out bad cops. That's positive. His NLRB, National Labor Relations Board, has done some good pro-union work, which is why you've seen sort of a new flourishing of unions, whether it be Starbucks, whether it be Amazon, etc. They did the PACT Act, which gave health care to veterans who were victims of toxic burn pits. That was one the Republicans voted against originally. Let me repeat that. Voted against health care for veterans who are toxic burn pit victims. He did a 15% corporate tax rate as part of the IRA. For all of his other flaws, that's one of the biggest W's. You got these corporations running around here, some paying 0% in taxes, some paying a negative tax rate. Paying. In other words, they're getting a net subsidy, and that's their taxes. He put an end to that. That's based. And of course, there was billions of dollars for green and renewable technology in the IRA. That's wonderful. And he nearly eliminated the drone war. So I'll be fair. I'll give credit where credit is due. But I'll also say this. Under Joe Biden, he said we're going to do a public option for healthcare, which is the bare minimum. Bare minimum. Really, we should have single-payer Medicare for all. It should be a right to have healthcare in this country. Not only did he not get us Medicare for all, he said he'd veto it if it passed. He also didn't lift a finger to get us a public option. So we lied. That's a massive fail. He didn't get us $15 minimum wage, even though we said he would. And you could also blame Manchin and Sinema and all the Democrats who are the most corporate Democrats who didn't support it. But he didn't lift a finger to fight, as far as I'm concerned. And from what I was seeing, he didn't get us paid vacation time. He didn't get us child care. He didn't get us paid medical leave. He didn't get us a Medicare expansion, which was on the table. And a lot of people thought we were going to get that. We didn't get that. We didn't get universal pre-K. We didn't get free college. We didn't get lower prescription drug prices, except for a handful of drugs. and only for seniors. Now, what's the problem with that? The problem is Joe Biden has the ability and the authority under the Bayh-Dole Act to lower all prescription drug prices across the board. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's right there in the text of the law. If a drug was funded by U.S. taxpayer money, as every drug in the last 2 decades was, he can lower it on his own. And he simply chose not to do it. From where I'm standing, those look like a bunch of failures. But I will say this. The 2 biggest victories, which it was easy for Biden supporters to point to say, this is why you should have casted your vote from right here. There were 2 things. Number 1, legal weed. He did a press conference a little while back now where he said, look, we're going to go through a process. We're going to reevaluate. We're going to do a review. And we're going to move on marijuana. Now, who knows what they're going to do? Are they going to change it from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 2? That'd be kind of weak. Are they going to do it from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3? That would sort of be semi-weak too. Or are they going to say it's decriminalized all around the country? It's off the list. That would be great. That would be great. But he announced this months and months and months ago now. And I haven't seen Dickie McGee's axe on that. Now look, I'm patient. Maybe at some point before the next election, they will come out and say, actually, weed's decriminalized now. Great, I'll come out here and give them credit. But do we really have to wait this long? Because now people are starting to think, maybe you're not going to do dick about this. Maybe that was just all for show. Maybe that was just a press conference and nothing more. To get yourself a little bump in the polls among young people and nothing else. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But the biggest victory, I put that in quotation marks here, for the Biden administration was his student loan debt reduction plan. That made his numbers soar among young people. He was damn near at 60% support among young people after coming out and releasing a pretty good plan to lower student loan debt. $10,000 for some people, up to $20,000 for other people, capped it at 5%, when previously it was at 10% every month when you pay, so it'd make it easier for people to pay over time. It was not a bad plan. Now, of course, I would have preferred to get rid of all of it. I think it's bullshit we have any student loan debt. I think that's crazy. But he had a half-decent plan. Well, guess what? Look at this, guys. News. This is in Politico. Biden administration confirms how it will implement the provision of debt ceiling deal that terminates the federal student loan payment pause. Interest will start accruing on September 1st. Monthly payments will be due starting in October. The Debt Collective, this is a group that cares deeply about this issue of student loan debt. They say, there it is. The Biden administration will commit to resuming your student debt payment. But when we ask if they'll commit to using all legal tools at their disposal to administer relief amid an unfavorable Supreme Court ruling, silence. Silence. So it looks like they're giving up on their number one accomplishment. That's what it looks like. And you know what the results of that are going to be? This was from April 24th, not that long ago. Biden's approval rating drops among young Americans to 36%. I just told you he was damn near at 60% when he announced this plan. Now he's almost half that. By the way, how much more is it going to go down when people actually have to start paying those student loans back? Are we going to be at 25% support among young people? I got to be honest with you guys. This is a self-inflicted wound. That's what this is. It is a self-inflicted wound. But there is a way out. But are they going to take it? The way out is simple. So the Supreme Court slaps it down, which it looks very likely that they're going to do it. First of all, I think they're wrong. I think on the legality of it, Joe Biden is correct. I think you have every right to do this. Previous presidents have reduced student loan debt using the same legal approach that Biden used in this case. Trump was able to do it. Biden was able to do it with certain loans this way. There was no problem. Now all of a sudden they're going to say there's a problem now. But there's a better way to do it. The 1965 Higher Education Act gives the Secretary of Education the ability, if they so choose, to get rid of any of the student loan debt that they hold. Well, guess what? The federal government holds about 90% of student loans. 90%. So they used a COVID justification that had previously worked for Trump and for Biden to do this through executive order. And if the court slaps it down, he should turn right around and say, no deal. I'm going to do it now through the 1965 Higher Education Act, where the plain-faced reading of the text is even more clear. And I dare you to strike it down. I dare you to strike it down. Because at least now, the people know I'm fighting as hard as I can for you. And to the administration's credit, every time they lost in court on the student debt thing, they appealed it. They appealed it. So they're trying. But what he needs to understand is it's not over when the Supreme Court says it's over. You have other legal avenues. And now it looks like they're not committing to using those other legal avenues. Well, then I'm here to tell you, do not be surprised one little bit when your support among young people drops to damn near 25%, which, by the way, will make it almost impossible for you to win a general election. I mean, you might be lucky in the sense that the guy he's running against might be in prison, but it would take that level of malfeasance and idiocy on the other side to give you a snowball's chance in hell. That's what it would take. Don't fail on this. Everything's on the line here. Democrats need young voters in order to win. Period. This is how you get those young voters. Come out, say weed is decriminalized all across the country. I'd go for it. Weed is legalized all across the country. That's what I would do. And don't you dare give up on the student loan debt reduction. You throw it right back in their face. And by the way, even if they strike it down a second time, when you use the 1965 Higher Education Act, you got to pull an FDR. You got to pull an LBJ. You got to say, excuse me? Okay, you don't like this? Go ahead and stop me with your army. Oh, that's right. You don't have an army. Well, I guess this is just like your opinion then. And my opinion as President of the United States is different. I say we can do the student loan debt reduction. Try and stop me. If he does that, he absolutely becomes the most based president since FDR. But it doesn't look likely. It looks like they might lay down in a chalk outline of themselves on the ground. Well, I'm here to tell you, do not be surprised at all when your approval rating craters even further if you're not fighting for people. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.